Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, the most requested story of the day today, is the big league leak out of the White House. You might remember during the first week of Trump's presidency, there were reports about phone calls he had with certain world leaders. And two of these calls really stood out. There was the one with Peña Nieto, the president of Mexico, and of course there was also the phone call with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, which was apparently crazy. There were reports that Donald Trump said this was the worst call he had all day. Well, the transcripts of those calls, which appear to be prepared by the White House but were never officially released, they were leaked. The Washington Post obtained them, and they are interesting. So on the call with the president of Mexico, it is interesting in a few places. And one of the biggest things to stand out here was the topic of the border wall. Trump says, "My people stand up and say, Mexico will pay for the wall," and your people probably say something in a similar but slightly different language. But the fact is, we are both in a little bit of a political bind because I have to have Mexico pay for the wall. I have to. I've been talking about it for a 2-year period. There's also a conversation had about crime and working together, but President Nieto says, "I fully agree that we should work together, but my position has been and will continue to be very firm, saying that Mexico cannot pay for that wall." And Donald Trump responds, "But you cannot say that to the press. The press is going to go with that, and I cannot live with that." And then later adding, and this is the part that really stood out to me, from an economic issue, it is the least important thing we're talking about. It's psychologically, it means something. So let us just say, we will work it out. And on the money issue, Trump's saying we will work it out in the formula somehow. It will come out in the wash, and that is okay. And so there it appears that Donald Trump is less concerned with Mexico actually paying for the wall, but it's actually more about the optics. What will people see? How will this reflect on me? And with the language Trump uses on the phone calls, we see that's an even bigger deal with Turnbull. During the phone call, Malcolm Turnbull is talking to Trump about a deal the country's had. It involves immigration. Trump says, "I'm not taking 2,000 people." Turnbull says, "It's not 2,000 people." Trump says, "I heard it's like 5,000 people." Turnbull says the actual number is 1,250 as stated in the agreement, and you can do whatever vetting process you want. It's entirely a matter of your vetting. During this conversation, Trump says, "Malcolm, why is this so important? I do not understand. This is going to kill me. I am the world's greatest person that does not want to let people into the country. Now I'm agreeing to take 2,000 people and I agree I can vet them, but that puts me in a bad position. It makes me look so bad and I've only been here a week. Somebody told me yesterday that close to 2,000 people are coming who are really probably troublesome. And I am saying, boy, that will make us look awfully bad." Turnbull responds, "Every individual is subject to your vetting. You can decide to take them or not to take them after vetting. You can decide to take 1,000 or 100. It's entirely up to you. The obligation is to only go through the process. Secondly, the people, none of these people are from the conflict zone. They are basically economic refugees." Then he talks about getting more than 270 electoral votes. Then going back to, "This is a stupid deal. The deal will make me look terrible." Turnbull says, "I think this will make you look like a man who stands by commitments of the United States." Trump says, "This shows me to be a dope. I am not like this, but if I have to do it, I will do it. But I do not like this at all." Then saying, "Suppose I vet them closely and I do not take any." Turnbull says, "That is the point I've been trying to make." Trump says, "How does that help you?" Turnbull says, "Well, we assume that we will act in good faith." Trump says, "Does anyone know who these people are? Who are they? Where are they from? Are they going to become the Boston bomber in 5 years or 2 years? Who are these people?" He later adds, "I look so foolish doing this. It is horrible for me." Adding, "I do not want to have more San Bernardinos or World Trade Centers." Turnbull says, "These guys are not in that league. They are economic refugees." Trump says, "You know, that is what they said about the Boston bombers. They said they were wonderful young men." Turnbull informs Trump they were Russians. They were not from any of these countries. Trump says, "They were from wherever they were." Trump says, "I'm going to get killed on this thing." Turnbull says, "You will not." Trump says, "Yes, I will be seen as weak and ineffective leader in my first week by these people. This is a killer." And then we get to that part that was leaked all those months ago. Trump says, "I've had it. I've been making these calls all day, and this is the most unpleasant call all day. Putin was a pleasant call. This is ridiculous." Now, as far as what people are taking away from these phone calls, everyone's a little bit different. There are some saying that it appears that Trump cares more about how he looks and how he is received by the public than the actual policy they're talking about. Others saying it shows he doesn't know what he's doing. He's throwing numbers out there saying, "I don't care where they're from." And there are others that say this is just part of the way that he has negotiated. And he's telling the president of Mexico, just don't talk about it. We'll figure it out with the math, but he's still going to try and actually get Mexico to pay based on a deal they come to. There are also some that have taken offense to what Donald Trump said about Canada. President Nieto brings up NAFTA, and Trump says, "Well, Canada is no problem. Do not worry about Canada. Do not even think about them. That is a separate thing, and they are fine, and we have a very fair relationship with Canada. It has been much more balanced and much more fair. So we don't have to worry about Canada. We do not even think about them." That part of the transcript blew up by the pairing of two sentences together. "We do not worry about Canada. We do not even think about them." And I do have to say there, I do think the president is being taken out of context. And at least my takeaway from this is Canada's not a problem. Our deal with Canada is great. We don't even have to worry about that. Kind of like how you don't think about your lungs and the act of breathing until there is a problem with it. But I guess in general, people are going to have different takeaways from this phone call. There is one definite we know from this situation though, and that is Scaramucci apparently was not successful in stopping leaks. But then again, that really shouldn't be a shock. It seems like the White House these days is made of Swiss cheese. But that said, I would love to know your takeaway from these leaked transcripts. What do you think? think about them? How do you think it makes the president look? I'd love to know your thoughts here. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome brought to you by the Sports Shirt. A shirt that says, I don't understand how the score works, who those guys are, what they're doing, but thanks for inviting me. Our team and or person is far superior to all others. Go us! So if you want to snag that run while it is available, link to that down below. And the first bit of awesome is a brand new video by Alan Becker. You most likely know his Stickmen fight videos. He did a new one called Animation vs. YouTube. He even includes a small segment of me. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco. Which is fantastic and I highly recommend it. Then we got a brand new trailer for season 3 of Narcos. It comes out September 1st, so if you are a fan, get excited. If you've never heard of this series, I highly recommend you start. Then we got a new episode of Hot Ones, this time with Steve-O. And I will say, if there's anyone that can handle a burn, it's probably Steve-O. Then we got Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey doing Wired's most searched questions. And the last bit of awesome is a DeFranco Elite announcement. At the start of this month, we just launched new signed posters and a mug. But that also means saying goodbye to the limited edition poster and mug of previous quarter. Rest in peace, my friends. And if you want to see the full versions of everything, I just shared the secret link of the day. Anything at all. Links, as always, are in the description down below. And then I want to talk about Nebraska State Trooper Brienne Splitgerber. She has filed a lawsuit against the patrol, the state of Nebraska, 2 former police heads, and various other people saying that they created a hostile work environment. Allegedly, Nebraska State Patrol has been forcing female recruits to, and this is weird, to undergo medically unnecessary pelvic exams to, quote, check for hernias. The lawsuit claims that she was required by a doctor hired by the patrol to remove her pants, lie on her back on the table with her knees bent, exposing her genitalia, and after the vaginal examination, she was then required to roll over onto her stomach in order to expose her anus for examination. So that happens, and at a later time, Splitgerber talks to her family physician, who says that there was no medically necessary reason for the exam to happen that way. And Dr. Karen Carlson, an OBGYN, said there would be no reason to look in the genital or anal area. You might have them loosen their pants, but I wouldn't think there would be any need to disrobe. And so that creates this huge what the fuck situation. Why were female recruits being forced to undergo a medically unnecessary vaginal and anal exam just to get hired? So Pete Ricketts, the governor of Nebraska, learns about this, and his office released an official statement saying, this afternoon, Governor Pete Ricketts announced an agency-wide review of the Nebraska State Patrol that will be led by the governor's chief human resources officer, Jason Jackson. This review will seek to examine the totality of the workforce climate and make recommendations for continuous improvement. And as this investigation started, Governor Ricketts removed Colonel Brad Rice. He was the superintendent of the patrol. And upon trying to review the situation, the chief human resources officer, Jason Jackson, said, this review found interference into the internal investigation process of the State Patrol and violations of internal policies among their concerning issues at the highest level of the agency's leadership. He also placed 6 personnel on administrative leave, including 2 command staff. And as far as if these pelvic exams are still happening, State Patrol spokesman Cody Thomas said no NSP recruits have undergone the pelvic exam since December 2016. And I have to say, looking at the situation, how the hell does this happen? Also, how long has this been happening to female recruits? Yes, they said they stopped doing these a few months ago, but Splitgerber's story stems from an examination that happened in 2014. How long has this been a policy, and how is it allowed to be a policy for this long? And right now, there is a criminal investigation here. They haven't said who the criminal investigation is into. And the whole situation just leaves me with a disgusted feeling. And then let's talk about Michelle Carter back in the news, and that name might sound familiar. Carter is the young woman who convinced her 18-year-old boyfriend to kill himself. There are pages and pages between her and her boyfriend where she was trying to convince him and urging him to kill himself. When he would say he was thinking about doing it, he was going to kill himself, but he didn't, she would then guilt him. She was instructing him when to do it, how to do it, trying to convince him to get past the issues he had with taking his own life. And then, after he killed himself, she acted like the grieving girlfriend on social media. This seeming as a way for her to try and get attention. And ultimately, it was all of those text messages, all of those words she used to convince her boyfriend to take his own life that resulted in some of Michelle Carter's life being taken from her as well. And I say that because Carter was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. The judge saying, this court has found that Carter's actions and failure to act where it was her self-created duty to Roy since she put him in that toxic environment constituted reckless conduct. The court finds that the conduct caused the death of Mr. Roy. This in reference not only to the text messages where she was urging her boyfriend to kill himself, but to the fact that she listened on the phone as he suffocated. He killed himself by inhaling carbon monoxide in his truck. And she just listened, she didn't call the cops, she didn't try and help. And today, Michelle Carter was sentenced. Carter faced up to 20 years in prison. And Assistant District Attorney Mary Claire Flynn recommended a sentence of 7 to 12 years in prison, saying Carter, quote, undertook a deliberate, well-thought-out campaign for her own personal gain and quest for attention. You had Carter's defense attorney recommending 5 years of supervised probation with required mental health counseling, saying that this was a case that was sad and tragic, one involving 2 young people struggling with mental issues. And the judge ultimately decided to give Michelle Carter 2.5 years in prison. With 15 15 months of that sentence having to be enforced, but that does not start today. Today, her probation starts, but there was a motion to stay that was granted. That means that while she's going through the appeals process, she will not be serving her prison sentence, at least until she reaches federal court. And the judge also ordered what I'm going to call the lifetime channel clause. He made it so Michelle Carter can't profit off of this situation, nor anyone working on her behalf, nor her family. This may be because there was some interest in this story for entertainment purposes, whether it be a documentary, a series, a movie. And I do have to say, I feel like this is such a light sentence. 15 months for tormenting and guiding a person that was vulnerable to you, who cared for you, to his death, seemingly to get sympathy and attention from people online. And she'll most likely just lose the 15 months and then have to live a slightly modified lifestyle for a few more years. That's just heartbreaking to me. But a question I want to pass off to you is, what do you think about this sentence? Do you think she should be punished? No, what she did is defended by freedom of speech. I know that was a big argument for some here. Also, what do you think about the sentence? Is 15 months enough? Should she have gotten a larger penalty? Is there really a hope for rehabilitation? I want to know where your mind is on this. So in those comments down below, let me know what you're thinking, whether it be on this story, the first one, anything in between. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I try and do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up on that, click or tap right there. Or if you want to see the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.